So on September 10th, Charlie Kirk was assassinated at a Turning Point, USA public debate event on the Utah Valley University campus. And of course, since then, it continues to dominate news headlines. And one thing that Kirk's staff has done is it really amplified the political divide within the United States. And also, as we highlighted, the toxic tribalism that's currently taking place. But this video has nothing to do about that. Just to make it clear, I'm not a political commentator. Like, I don't think you should really care about my political opinion. Also, I happen to be Canadian, so any opinion I have would be from a neutral bystander perspective. But of course, if your next door neighbors make a lot of noise, you're going to notice. But like I said, this is not political commentary. I'm not a political commentator. This is not going to be turned into a political commentary channel. But one thing you probably do know, if you watched any of my videos, I have a website, ongoing history of protestsongs.com. And part of the objective of the website is to highlight not just the past history of protest music, but the fact that it's ongoing and music continues to play a role when it comes to social commentary and we highlighted different issues that are happening and kind of adding an important voice into the conversation. So, in connection with that, I'm going to discuss this topic from that perspective. So, there actually has been a number of songs written in response to Charlie Kirk's assassination. And for this video, I'm going to focus on Florida. So we'll get right into our first video. So the video or the song is Charlie by Jesse Wells.
Blood should be spilled. Charlie shouldn't have died.
And really, it should be no surprise that the prolific topical singer-songwriter Jesse Wells wrote a response to the murder of the right-wing political influencer Charlie Kirk. If anything, I know of myself, and I think a number of Jesse Wells fans, every time a major news event takes place, we tend to regularly check our YouTube just to see if Wells has wrote a song yet. And it's no surprise that he was pretty quick to write a song in response to the killing of Charlie Kirk. I'm not 100% sure if this was the first song posted because Canadian mega rapper Tom McDonald was pretty quick to write his response as well. But I really don't want to talk about the Tom McDonald's tune other than to say it's kind of cringe and it's very rage baity. So we'll get back to Jesse Wells. And one thing I did notice looking at the YouTube comments is even a number of people that tend to be Jesse Wells fans seem to be disappointed in his response. Some of the comments seem to indicate, and I don't really agree with this, was he didn't really do enough to speak out against Charlie Kirk's most divisive viewpoints, which I don't understand. I can come to that conclusion because right at the beginning of the song, you reference bile, venom, hate, and lies. Maybe I'll just read those lyrics there. It says, for all the bile, the Botox, the venom, the hate, and the lies, no one should be killed, no blood should be spilled. Charlie shouldn't have died. So, yes, Jesse Wells, we made it quite clear his views of Charlie's rhetoric. So there was no ambiguity there. But he also added, and hopefully this is not something that people consider controversial, because I think there's something wrong with you if you do. He added to the fact that Charlie shouldn't have died. So that should not be a controversial statement. Another lyric, and this is something else that seemed to be getting some criticism. It's the line, well, the first line, this one I don't think was as controversial. It says, well, you can't hate the God and love the God that shot your rival. So just kind of pinpointing the fact that you can't say you're against gun violence, but then rejoice when someone you don't like or disagree with is murdered. That would be hypocritical. But this is another line that kind of, I noticed some comments kind of point out. It says, I heard laughing, I heard glee, but it could have been you. It could have been me. And I think some people kind of even misunderstood that lyric a bit. Like some people were kind of like, how could it be me? I don't engage in hateful rhetoric. Or how could it be Jesse? Because he doesn't engage in hateful rhetoric. But I think there's a couple perspectives you got to keep in mind with those lyrics. First off, if you consider that as a general commentary on gun violence in the United States, anyone could be a victim because a lot of it is senseless and it just doesn't make sense. But then if you also look at the other aspect, someone murdering you for a difference of opinion is something that unfortunately can also happen. And it's something that easily, for those that said it couldn't happen to Jesse Wells, that's just wrong because Jesse Wells is someone that's quite vocal of his political views. So it wouldn't be out of the question that some insane, deranged person could go to one of his concerts and commit a violent act. So the song does highlight the fact that there's currently a cycle of endless violence. And it also clearly highlights that you can't combat hatred with more hatred. And it's good to keep that in mind for those that feel that Jesse Wells unsatisfied with his comments. It's really consistent with his philosophical viewpoints because Jesse Wells, he has strong political views, but he's also a pacifist and he's clearly on the side against gun violence. And he's also someone that's very supportive of free speech as well. So someone obviously shouldn't be murdered because of a difference of opinion. And like I said, I actually agree with Jesse Wells' take. So I really don't understand any of the criticism and backlash. So we're going to go to our next song. It's called Fire in America by Sasha Allen.
Most don't get a choice in the matter.
So Sasha Allen was a former contestant on The Voice. So it was him and his dad. I believe his dad's name was Jim. I forgot to put it in my notes here. But since then, he's been posting and writing songs online. And this song actually went semi-viral. And part of the reason why it went semi-viral was because media personality Joy Reid posted a video of her watching the TikTok video of Alan performing this song. And this actually had a little bit of backlash. There was some conservative influencers that kind of wrongly accused Alan of basically glorifying Kirk's death and even making the wrong accusation that towards the end of the song, he was even calling for the assassination of J.D. Vance, which is ridiculous. And we'll get back to that in a moment. So the song was mostly positive, but like we said, there's a small handful of right-wing influencers that have had their take as well. But basically, what Alan was doing here was he was basically using the murder of Charlie Kirk as a lens to examine gun violence and how America views gun violence. And even in connection with that, he also kind of highlighted the fact that people were quick to kind of mourn the death, or at least people on a certain side, to mourn the death of Charlie Kirk, but they don't necessarily put the same value of life on children that die in school shootings. Like there was even a school shooting the same day, like at the Evergreen High School in Colorado, that took place on the same day of Kirk's death. But I'm just going to go back to those that thought that Allen was kind of celebrated Kirk's death. An objective listener will clearly discern that that's not the case. Like, for example, we got the poignant lyric. You probably won't feel a thing if I was gunned down, so you wouldn't be Charlie Kirk, but I'm nothing like you. So Allen was highlighting the fact that unlike Kirk, who lacked empathy,
Clinton in the 1990s, it was all about empathy and sympathy. I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that does a lot of damage, but it is very effective when it comes to politics.
And he was even vocal about the fact that he had a dislike of that word empathy. So unlike Kirk, who lacked empathy, Allen had that empathy. So even though he may have disagreed with Kirk's rhetoric, he would still be able to feel empathy and feel bad for his death. And then we mentioned the other criticism was that people thought it was a call to violence against J.D. Vance. That is really a stretch. There's nothing in the song where you can come to that conclusion. I mean, it is true that at the end of the song, he refers to Vance as a Nazi, but
And all I feel is fear where this leaves us. For people like me and like you, there's a full-blown fire in America and a fascist on Air Force Two.
Just calling someone a Nazi is a bit different than saying kill that person.
Divide in American politics today is between these far-left fascists led by Harris and her group. We have a fascist person running who's incompetent.
She's a Marxist, communist, fascist.
Like you have to be very disingenuous to come to that conclusion. And in this case, you would also have to ignore the rest of the lyrics. Like if you actually listen to the lyrics, it makes it clear that violence is wrong. And the lyrics are also a sobering reminder that if we keep rocking down the same path, the endless cycle of needless death will only continue. So the next song we're going to talk about is Turning Point by Luke Nickel,
Well, the last word he said was violence on a stage which read the words, prove me wrong.
who I don't know too much about him because he's only posted a few videos online and he now has a couple songs on Spotify. And this particular song has been getting some notice for him, but he's definitely a throwback singer songwriter. And even though I feature this on my website, Ongoing History of protestmusic.com, I was debating a bit because in context of a protest song, it is a little bit ambiguous. Like I don't know exactly where he stands on the issue. And I don't even know what he's specifically protesting. And that's if he's protesting anything. So kind of what makes this folk song stands out is it adopts a more observational approach. So it really leaves it up to the listener to interpret the intent. But the song does make powerful use of poetic imagery with lyrics such as
Was it when we first amended silence, or when we next allowed the tools to make it do? Maybe all the power's gone into the checks, and the balance of the scales is skewed.
So these lyrics are definitely thought provoking. And I think that's an important aspect of a good folk song. Like we don't necessarily need to be beaten over the head with the message that the songwriter wants to convey. Like you can leave something up to interpretation. And there's definitely a lot of food for thought in Nichols' lyrics. And he also recently wrote a song. I'll try to remember the name of it. I should have wrote it down here. But it's basically a song about AI.
Alright, listen to me on Spotify. I generated a beat and called it lo-fi. I got a podcast called Hitler Might Have Been a Bit Nice. I'll make a quarter of a penny every time you listen twice.
And AI generated music. And it's a very thought-provoking song as well. So I would actually be really happy if Luke Nickel does get some more attention because he's very much a very talented singer-songwriter and he's very good at using satire. So he basically does well following that folk tradition, but he also is able to use that folk tradition, kind of give like a modern lens to it to comment on current events. So there's one last song we're going to discuss. So it's called You Don't Have to Mourn Him by Hannah Gray.
And drag his hypocrisy by the heels. Oh yeah, the empathy the world is flaunting is haunted. He died in a world that he wanted.
So Hannah Gray is a singer-songwriter that seems to do fairly well for herself on social media. So some of her videos seem to get a decent number of views. So this particular song, it's basically a reminder that those whose lives were affected by Kirk's hateful rhetoric, they don't have to feel bad about not mourning him. And even in connection with that, the lyrics also highlight Kirk's hypocrisy. So even when we think of the fact that Kirk kind of expressed that some gun deaths were necessary in order to preserve the right of the Second Amendment.
I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal.
And then even in connection, and we already highlighted that previously, Kirk's view on the idea of empathy. And that's actually one of the lines that stands out in the song. It highlights how Kirk, he died in a world that he wanted. So yes, no one should feel obligated to have to mourn the death of an individual like that. But just to make sure that her lyrics are not misconstrued, she also made the following statement on the video's YouTube page. That being said, if you are celebrating this, then we are not on the same team. It's really quite scary to see such selective empathy. The world needs compassion. Kirk showed none. So yes, you don't have to mourn his death, but you also don't need to celebrate it. So it's okay to show empathy for those that are affected by the death, such as Kirk's family, but also acknowledge that there's going to be individuals that maybe are also impacted by some of the things that Kirk promoted. And then she also, because she wants something positive to come from the song and the video that she posted. So on her YouTube page, she directs viewers to support organizations that aided those affected by gun violence and provide aid to civilians in Palestine. So those are the 4 songs I'm going to discuss. If you're aware of any other songs written about Charlie Kirk's death, and there is others, there's even a few others that I highlight on my website that I'm not mentioning in this video. But if you have one that stands out to you, feel free to let me know in the comments. And as mentioned, I'm not a political commentator, and I'm not going to go in that direction. But if you want me to make similar type of videos where I use protest songs as a lens to examine political events or other kind of current events, you can let me know in the comments as well. So this concludes the video. But if you would like me to continue to make similar content, please like and subscribe. And as previously mentioned, check out the website, Ongoing History of ProtestSongs.com. And as I previously mentioned, it just doesn't highlight the past history, but it highlights the ongoing history as well. Like, for example, in connection with that, I also recently made a video that highlight 10 artists who shows that protest music is not dead. So you can feel free to check out that video as well. So thanks for watching, and please stay safe.